What's up guys, it's me Jeremy, and today I have an awesome video that should teach you how to win almost any 1v1 matchup, and that is a guide on understanding kits and outplay potential. Let's talk about understanding kits first. Each champion has 7 abilities that you need to keep in mind while analyzing them. Their summoner spells, their active abilities, and of course lastly their passive. Every single one can influence a fight greatly. The things you need to know about their kit are as follows: about how much damage they do, how much crowd control they have, how much mobility they have available, how much sustain they have, how many skill shots versus targeted abilities they have, and lastly the cooldowns on their abilities. Knowing all of this about a champion will give you a huge potential to outplay them, but more importantly, knowing all this about your own champion will give you huge potential to outplay anyone. This knowledge can be gained by playing a champion at least twice or so. At the very least, you should do some research and know what every single champion does in order to know their kits. But it's one thing to just know the kit of a champion. You need to understand the kit if you want to outplay them. For their damage abilities, you need to be able to tank through them or out DPS them. For their crowd control abilities, you need to not get caught out during them and be able to respawn afterwards. For their mobility, you need to be able to deal with so that you don't get kited. For their sustain, you need to be able to match, power through, or avoid. And lastly, for their skill shots, you need to dodge, and for their target abilities, you need to be completely ready for. If you can take all this into account, you are able to truly understand a kit. Let's take one of my favorite champions, Ahri, as an example. On her actives, she has 2 skill shots and 2 pseudo-targeted abilities, and then her passive gives her sustain. Let's assume I'm using the standard summoners of Flash and Ignite, so that wraps up my 7 abilities. I have 2 skill shots, 3 targeted abilities, as well as 5 damage abilities, 1 crowd control ability, 2 mobility abilities, and lastly 1 sustain ability. Now let's say I'm playing against Xerath, that is running Flash and Ignite as well. He has 2 skill shot abilities and 2 targeted abilities, as well as 4 damage abilities, 1 crowd control ability, 1 mobility ability in his Flash, and lastly 0 sustain abilities. By analyzing these 2 kits, we can easily see my outplay potential. Since he has 2 skill shots, technically 3 if you count his stun, and I have decent mobility, I can outplay him extremely easily if I can dodge his spells. In addition, his 1 mobility spell has an extremely long cooldown because it's Flash. So if I can get him to use that, I will have a huge advantage and he will be extremely vulnerable to my skill shots and to my mobility. In addition, his passive is pretty much useless against me, while his locus of power provides him with immobility, allowing me to land my skill shots and crowd control. However, we need to look at it both ways as well to understand the matchup fully. He can outplay me easily by avoiding my one and only crowd control ability. If he can avoid that while managing to land his crowd control, he can easily beat me in a fight. From this analysis alone though, we can see that Ahri actually has a huge advantage over Xerath in lane, since Xerath's only option is to land his skill shots against a high mobility champion. But not only can we see that Ahri counters Xerath, but we can see how she counters him, and why. We can also see how exactly to play the matchup as Ahri, and how to play the matchup as Xerath, and that is the key to understanding outplay potential. By not just knowing, but by understanding the kit of both my champion and my opponent's champion, I am able to fully understand the matchup on both sides completely, so I know what to do and what to avoid during the actual game, giving me a huge knowledge advantage over my opponent if he does not know these things, and most actually don't. I don't have to follow some unreliable website on counter picks, I just know and understand what to do and how to do it, so I know my outplay potential on him and his outplay potential on me. Now I just used Ahri and Xerath as an example, but I'm sure you can see why this same process can apply to any matchup in the entire game. If you can apply this knowledge to your laning, you will have a much easier time carrying games and succeeding in League of Legends. My name is Jeremy, and that's it for my video on understanding kits and outplay potential. I'd love it if you could support me with a like, or join me on my North American chat room Gaming Curios, which I am always in when I go online. Please subscribe for more awesome content in the future if you enjoyed this video, and I'd love it if you could follow me on Facebook or Twitter, of which I will have links in the description. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.